know these two individuals. Let me hit this button real quick. I've gotten to know these two individuals very well the last few years. As like they said, we've consulted spent a lot of time, going over ways and things that they can do to grow their business. In First Timothy chapter 6, verse 11, it says that a man of God will follow after righteousness, godliness, faith, love, patience, and meekness. And one thing that I can say about these two individuals, as I endorse them, they have high character, they're purpose-driven, good men, and they both have big hearts. So I want to clap it up for you guys, right? So clap it up for these two for setting this call up, for sure. And listen, I promise I'm gonna bring some value to you all, give you some things that you can implement and help you in your endeavors, regardless of where you're at right now in your career. All I ask for you to do is just take notes, be a good student, write down the questions that you have for the end of the call. We will have a little bit of time for Q&A, and your ticket to ask questions at the end will be based on your note taking. All right. So the best note takers will get a chance to ask the best question. All right. So let me give you a little bit about my background, because I hate just talking. I really don't like to talk about myself, but I have to tell you a little bit about my background. I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. I attended Mount Union College. I got my degree there in sports management and business administration. I found financial services through a job post at my college network, and I started the industry in 2007. I was 23. I retired at 37. My first application was submitted in September 9th, 2007 to be exact. And fast forward, I was able to sell my company, my book of business, and my practice December of 21. I started as an agent like most do, and I had no prior experience coming in, nor did I know anyone at the company. When I started, we did in-home presentations. That was a way of doing business back then. I had to deliver an 8-page presentation. Took me forever to memorize that script. We had to use a big binder. And I had to give at least 15 presentations a week, make at least 500 calls a week, door knock at least 50 homes a week, all working in low-income areas. And I wouldn't change it any other way. That's where I learned the true grind of how to get after it in this industry. And there was no virtual presenting like it is today. We didn't have the technology that you have today that you can utilize that make things so much easier. I was contracted with the same company all 14 years. And I recruited thousands of agents to the industry. I developed hundreds of leaders. I wrote over $30 million in premium. The thing that I'm most proud of are the lives that were changed and the people who are better off after having worked with me. And for those of you on the call, obviously, you're in this industry as well. So congratulations to you on pursuing a career in financial services. I personally think you've made one of the best decisions that anybody could make as far as pursuing a career in this industry that has changed more lives than any other industry in the world. I mean, it's truly commensurate to hitting the lottery. I mean, we all know that the lottery offers a chance to win life-changing money while you invest a few dollars. The likelihood of winning is not that high, though, which, by the way, I think most people don't know this, but if you didn't know, we have a 1 in 292 million chance of winning the lottery. Show of hands, who knew that is more revenue in the insurance industry than any other industry in the world? Who know that? Okay, that means you're well learned on the industry. Here's a cool thing. Your odds of having a successful career in this industry is a lot better than playing the lottery, as is way more millionaires in the insurance industry than any other industry in the world. Let me give you some statistics about the insurance industry. Last time I checked, there's over $1.4 trillion in yearly revenue. There's over 2.8 million people in the insurance industry. There's 737 insurance companies in the US. There's over 260 million life insurance policies in force. Remember that number. 52% of Americans have life insurance. There's 7.8 billion people in the world. 385,000 babies are born every day. And 166,000 people die every day. What does this mean? Why am I sharing this information with you? I'm sharing this because at the end of the day, it is a lot of opportunity for every single one of you on this call to get your piece of the pie. Whatever that looks like for you, there's unlimited opportunity in this industry. All right. So I think it's important to start with talking about how important it is to think big. You know, when I started in the industry, I was 23. I have a piece of paper. I literally forgot to grab it. If you guys want to see it, I can get it before. I just got to go in my basement and dig through some stuff. I'll grab it, I promise you. But on this piece of paper, what I wrote down was the vision that I had of what I was looking to achieve with this opportunity. I believe that, you know, when most people start in the industry, right, you're interested, right? It's just like kind of almost dating someone. You're interested at first, you know, and then after that, you start dating. And then after you start dating, you know, go from dating to being serious. And then from being serious, you get engaged. And then after you get engaged, you get married. You know, for me, that whole entire process took 2 months to get through. Once I got to that 2 month period after flirting to being, listen, I'm all in, I'm ready to rock and roll. This is what I'm deciding to do. I wrote down what I was looking to achieve. And here's the one thing that I know that I did that majority of the people around me did not do. It had nothing to do with me being more talented than anybody around me. It was thinking big. Listen, here's the thing. If you can think whatever you want about whatever you decide to do, but if you think big, it is no cost to thinking big. Why think small? Okay. If you're going to think big. All right. And I assure you that you can do more and do better. Show of hands. Who has heard of the name Ben Feldman? Raise your hand. Okay. A few. Now, here's the thing. I remember when I started, I didn't know anything about this guy. But here's what I do know. I remember when I played football in college. I ran track in college as well. And I had aspirations of being a professional football player. The position that I played was wide receiver. I know right now I look more like a linebacker, but it is what it is. I played wide receiver, okay? So I remember looking up who was the best wide receiver to ever play the game. And his name was Jerry Rice at the time, okay? And coming into this industry, I tried to do the same thing. When I came across Ben Feldman, it blew my mind what this dude was able to do with his career in the insurance industry. Let me share a little bit about some of the things that he was able to do, okay? You can research this as well. I'm sorry. I don't know why I have a video. Sorry. I have something that was a recording I was listening to earlier. It just popped up out of nowhere. But a little bit about his career. He sold insurance with New York Life, okay, from 1942 to his death in 1993. He once held the world record for the most products sold by a salesman in a career. A year, it was 100 million. That was the record. In a single day, he wrote $20 million in premium. And near the end of his career, you know, his annual commission totals were over $1 million a year. This guy grew up in East Liverpool, Ohio. So for me, it was interesting learning a little bit about what he was able to do. I went out and purchased his book. It was very hard to find, but I was able to get it. And it cost me about $200, which normally would be like a $20 book. I didn't care what it cost because I knew the investment was going to allow for me to be able to go a little bit further and help me not have to figure some things out about how to maximize my career. The name of the book that I purchased was Insurance Selling for the 1990s. You might be able to find the book now. And if you can, I highly recommend getting it. You know, so I had to study him early on and I read his book. And what I learned from reading his book was that I was thinking too small and I was thinking average about what was possible. So listen, here's the thing. I know the title of this is How to Maximize Your Insurance Career and Retire Before the Age of 40 or less than 15 years in the industry, because some of us might be over the age of 40. Regardless of what it is, I think if you can put a number of whatever that is for you, you can do the same thing. And for me, my goal was to retire before 40. I was fortunate enough to do it at 37. I started at 23, did it at 37. So 14 plus years. And this is what you need to know. Okay. So I'm gonna give you three things. Number one, you need to know the premium that you need to write or the residual income you need to cover for the lifestyle that you desire from retirement, whatever that age is, till your life expectancy. So for example, for me, my target was 40. I started at 23. So I knew I was going to have 17 years to get the job done. I looked at, okay, if I retire at 40 and life expectancy for men is early 80s, I was going to have to cover my lifestyle for about 40 years. Does that make sense? So when I added those numbers up, I knew that my number was at least $5 million in residual income of what I was going to need to generate and build up from writing an adequate amount of insurance to cover the lifestyle from retirement till life expectancy. And here's the cool thing. What you measure is what you treasure. Remember that. What you measure is what you treasure. I reviewed my reports every single month from the beginning of my career to the end of my career prior to retiring. I knew what my net worth was. At the time when I retired, my net worth was over $2 million. The number exact was $2,025,785 to be exact. My present value of the future commissions of what was owed to me for my renewals, it was $5,502,561. I knew it like my Social Security number. And I think it's important for you to know your number. So that's the first thing is you need to know how much you got to write or how much residual income you're going to need to cover the lifestyle from retirement to life expectancy. Number two, you're going to need to know how many no's you must overcome. Now, listen, this is a mindset shift. Most people want to focus on how many sales they need to make, right? We come into a new week, new month, new year, new this, whatever. We're focusing on how many families we've assisted, which is nothing wrong with that. It's important to serve and serve with passion. And when we're making enrollments, we know we're helping people, right? But here, you know what most people don't think about? They don't think about how many no's they got to overcome. This is one of the main reasons why people don't make it in this industry is the rejection factor of things. Does that make sense? So I tricked my brain in the beginning of my career and I literally wrote down, I did the numbers and I figured out how many no's I needed to get throughout the duration of my career in order to retire. And my number was over 15,000 no's. Think about that. I didn't say sales, I said no's. This is rejection. And when I did the numbers, that was projected to be accomplished. If I would have did average numbers, it would have took me 19 years to be able to get the job done. So here was the decision I had to make. So the second thing was know how many no's you must overcome. Number three is you got to decide if you want to get through the no's by yourself or with others. I'm going to say that again. You have to decide if you want to get through the no's by yourself or with others. Somebody told me a long time ago when I started a career in this industry, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go fast, go with others. I decided that I was going to take others with me. So it only took me 14 years to get the job done. And by the way, I can tell you this, it was so much more fun than doing it by myself. Okay. So let me give you some statistics on sales. And this, I got this information from the National Sales Executive Association. 48% of agents never follow up with a prospect. 25% make a second contact and then they stop. 12% only make 3 contacts before stopping. 10% make more than 3 contacts. 2% of sales are made on the first contact. 3% of sales are made on the second contact. 5% of the sales are made on the third contact. 10% of sales are made on the fourth contact. And check this out. 80% of sales are made on the 5th or more contacts. So why is that important to know? At the end of the day, it's all about being persistent. You can't stop somebody who won't stop. When you understand how important of a job you have in this type of industry of to literally make a difference in somebody's life, regardless of the product. Like we have one shot. There's only like 3 times when people are going to really think about buying insurance, life insurance. When somebody close to them died, when they're on their deathbed, or when they're dealing with an insurance agent. And I did not take that opportunity when I was meeting with them lightly. So I want you all to understand, regardless of the things we got to overcome, of people, giving us a little bit of friction, we need to be persistent, because there is somebody who will hope that they'll take the time to ignore all those things that they're trying to put up guards wise to help their loved one do what they need to do to have what they need to have so they can be taken care of when their worst day happens. All right. So take those stats and use them to your advantage. So what's the cost of thinking small? Here's the cost of thinking small. You can think big or you can think small. You choose. If you think small, you're going to waste time. It's going to take you longer to accomplish and do the things you desire to do in your life. It will take you longer to retire. Here's some retirement stats. I looked this up because things change over time. The average age of retirement is 61 right now. The average monthly retirement Social Security income is $1,827 a month. And the median monthly income for 65 and up is $3,968. So the question I have for you is this what you're working for? If I think the majority of them on the call would say no, right? And nothing against anyone out there who pursue this type of retirement life, but I just wanted more for not only myself and my family. I didn't come from much, man. I grew up in the projects, on welfare, single parent household. I knew that at the end of the day, what life could be, what life would be if I didn't do something about my circumstances. And I had found a vehicle that allowed for me to change the generations to come, if that makes sense. So everything is going to start with building the right foundation. You got to build the right foundation with whatever it is you're building. All right. So if I don't know if you guys read your Bibles, if you're a believer, whatever the case may be, but in Luke chapter 6, verse 48, it says, he is like a man which built an house and dig deep and laid the foundation on a rock. And when the flood arose, the stream beat vehemently upon that house and could not shake it, for it was founded upon a rock. And here's what I'm trying to tell you. If you're going to build something, you want to build it very solid through quality business practices. This isn't a get rich quick thing, but you will get rich for sure if you do it the right way. All right. So I want to give you guys 10 tips. 10 tips that you can use at any point in time of wherever you're at in your career. This applies to anybody. What I realized in my journey, starting with the foundation piece. And listen, this isn't in particular order. I just wrote down, if I had to pick 10 things, what would those 10 things be? From a foundation standpoint, you got to take care of your spirit, mind, and body every single day. Not 5 days a week, 7 days. Every single day, you got to take care of your spirit, mind, and body. Okay? You can't be weak. That's the first thing. Right foundation through taking care of your spirit, mind, and body. Second thing is you need to have a vision with goals and an action plan. So VGA, just write that acronym down, VGA. And here's the thing, man. In scripture, it says that without vision, people perish. And that's so true. If you don't have a vision, you'll perish from whatever it is that you're doing. A lot of times we go through the challenges in this type of career and we forget why we started. But I know for a fact, when you have a vision and you have goals, you're checking those things off and you have an action plan. All you got to do is just focus on the action plan daily. And it won't be long before you hit those goals and achieve your vision. That's number 2, vision, goals, action plan. Number 3, sacrifice. There's going to be some right now I'm sacrificing. I'm not getting paid to do this either, by the way. This is, I know that at the end of the day, somebody's life will be impacted from the time that's invested. And listen, one thing I know and what I've learned is that if you sacrifice for the life you want, you'll get it. And if you don't, you'll get that as well. So you either sacrifice for the life you want, or the life you want will become the sacrifice. Okay. In every family tree, there's got to be at least one person who's going to break those generational curses. Let it be you. Let it be you. Everybody got a story to tell. Everybody got things we got to overcome. Let that be you. That's number 3, sacrifice. Number 4, roll with the winners. RWTW. On my license plate, I got RWTW. I just think it's so important to get around winners, people who are winning in life, people who want to win in life. You define that however you want to, but roll with winners. Do not roll with losers. Number 5, pay the price. Whether you like it or not, and I promise you, you're gonna probably have more days when you don't feel like doing whatever it is you need to do, but you just got to do it anyways. And you'll thank yourself when it's all said and done. Pay the price, whatever it is. And there's no shortcuts, all right? And it ain't no discount either. Serve. This is number 6, serve. The more people you serve, the more you will be served. I'm going to say it again. The more people you serve, the more you will be served. Number 7, decide. You got to decide exactly what you want, when you want it, why you want it. That's a big one. Why? Why you want it? Where you want it? Who you want it with? You just got to make some decisions and decide. A lot of times we just fail to decide. All right. Number 8, why? You need to know your why and never forget it. One of my favorite authors, his name is John Gordon. I read a lot of his books. He said, we don't get burned out because of what we do. We get burned out because we forget why we do it. And that piece of paper I was telling you about that I wrote down, and I wrote the title Empire. That's what I was trying to build at 23. I used to look at this piece of paper every single day for 14 plus years. Why? Because I did not want to forget why I was doing what I was doing, if that makes sense. Okay. Number 9 is control. And what I mean by that is control what you can control. There's a lot of things you are not going to be able to control. You can't control the consumer that we deal with. You can't control the weather. It's a list of things we can't control. But I'm going to tell you what you can control every single day. You can control your attitude and your effort every single day. You can't control which cards you were dealt, but you can control how you play your cards. I wasn't dealt the best hand. I would not change the hand that I was dealt either. And it's easier, listen, it's easier to have control of your attitude and effort when you plan your work and work your plan. A lot easier. Number 10 is keep showing up. It's hard to stop somebody who will not stop, who will keep getting up and won't stop. No one is willing to stand in front of somebody who will literally just not stop. So I just think it's important to just, simmer on those 10 things and, use it however you desire. But I think most people, they look at life like this. This pen right here, if I had to give a representation of how average people look at life, we look at life like this, when in reality, we need to look at it this way. This pen is, you can look at this pen this way or this way. You're going to see 2 different things. We get so caught up in the little things right now. We can't really see the reality of, look, how much time we got, what all goes into it. But when we flip it and look at it this way, we have a change in perspective and not stressing out about the things that we have to deal with and go through every single day. So I just want to challenge you all to, have the right perspective of the time that you have. Because we're blessed. All of us on this call, we're blessed, regardless of where we're at. There's somebody who did not have the opportunity to wake up today. Their time was over. All right. So the time that we have remaining, we need to make the most out of it. I want to give you a few book recommendations, and then we'll jump into Q&A. I got 4 book recommendations that I think, regardless of where you're at, especially raise your hand if you're within your first 4 years in this industry. Raise your hand. So this applies pretty much to majority of you, right? So, I always looked at, when I came into the industry, my first year, I was a rookie, right? So when you're a rookie, usually how rookies operate. Your second year, you're a sophomore. Third year, you're a junior. Your fourth year, you're getting that diploma, right? The 4 books that I would recommend reading right now, regardless of if I'm in my first, second, third, or fourth year, if you've never read Go Giver, I would highly recommend reading the book Go Giver. The second book I would recommend is Atomic Habits. Great book. The third book that I would recommend is Proverbs. Proverbs is listen, there's not a human on this planet that got too much wisdom. It's the book of wisdom, Proverbs. Regardless of what you believe, I recommend reading Proverbs. And here's my challenge when it comes to how to read it. If you guys watch basketball, you know they go through the free throw line when they get fouled and they're trying to shoot 100%, right? Make every shot. Now, the likelihood of shooting 100% from the free throw line is not that high. I think the highest free throw percentage in a single season might be like, what, 93%, somewhere around there. I tried to challenge myself as I started to read Proverbs, you know, in my career. I started reading Proverbs maybe within my first 2-3 years, because I didn't know anything about it. But when I was exposed to it, I started to read it. And my free throw percentage wasn't that high then. But later into my career, I had a very high free throw percentage. And basically, all you have to do is there's 31 chapters in Proverbs. So regardless of the month, right? So we're in December. We know it's 31 days in December, right? It takes 2 minutes to read a chapter. Whatever the day it is, just read that chapter. So for example, today is the 4th of December. Today I read Proverbs chapter 4 and all the other stuff I read, right? And this is something that when you read it in the morning before the birds chirp, you're able to just digest and gain wisdom throughout your life, throughout your day, and it's going to help you in your life. Wisdom is, there's nothing on this planet that is worth more than wisdom. So I just highly recommend just reading Proverbs every single day. Okay. And then the last book I would recommend is, the title of it is You Can Do It. You Can Do It. It's not out yet. It'll be out beginning of the year. And I happen to be the author. It's a great book. I promise you. It's a life-changing book. And I'm looking forward to impacting somebody through the penmanship. So let's open it up for some Q&A.
Yeah, James. We'll it's okay if you would take Q&A to about 9:00 p.m. Eastern time to respect everyone's time. I'm gonna open up to some leaders first, if that's okay. So
let's do it.
Either Hendo, Tony G, Tim Colson, Akil, Michael Bond, Julius, Caroline, Jacqueline. You guys want to take some Q&A first. After that, we'll open up to everyone else.
Let's do it.
Well, I guess nobody jumped on, so I guess I'm going to be the one that steps up and says, hey, you know, I've got something for you, man. First of all, thank you so much for your time, man. Just the wisdom that you poured out. I know that, you know, whatever we take in actually comes out. You put good stuff in, good stuff comes out. And I can just tell, you know, that you're a great steward of mentorship, because all the words that you're saying tonight, you know, they're hitting home to, you know, maybe even somebody like me that's been in a personal growth and development space for, you know, over a decade of my life. But the one thing that I guess I want to ask you is, you know, John C. Maxwell, you talked about it with number 3, tip number 3 tonight, was the law of sacrifice. Yeah. In your opinion, we all know that we've got to give up to be able to go up, right? You know, how do you as a leader determine what you're willing to be able to give up to be able to reach your goals?
So I remember thinking about like how important like of a career choice I was making at 23 when I first started. I remember like I wasn't married when I first started in this industry. I didn't have any kids, but I was thinking about, okay, so if I sacrifice right now, all these years, all this time, like when from the beginning of my career to like I would say the first, man, even after I moved here to Indiana and started the agency from scratch, like I was working half days, like 7 days a week. Like I tell Mike and Jalen, man, it's simple. All you gotta do is work half days. And when people hear that, they're like, what do you mean half days? 8 hours a day, half 8 hours? No. It's 24 hours in a day. You got to work half days. And if you sacrifice, right now, because listen, here's the thing, Hendo. I love the name, by the way, Hendo. You can sacrifice right now. You can work hard and play later, or you can play right now. Usually when you're younger, you like to play a lot. You can play right now and you're going to have to pay later. So I was just thinking about what life was going like. I'm one of those individuals. I'm thinking about down the road, like, man, I'll never forget. Like I'll share this with you all, and I talk about this in my book. I'll never forget, when I played athletics and I was involved in athletics, whether from high school through college, how my mother was not able to be present. And I wish she could have been. I remember being at my national championship track and field event my senior year in college. I had no representation there to cheer me on. I was a national champion All-American. I brought a picture of my mom with me because I knew she couldn't be there, but I just wanted some kind of form of like support. And that was the best support that I can get, was bringing a picture. So like when I started this career and I thought about what my life was going to look like when I actually had a family, when I had kids, and I wanted to be able to be present. And I knew that if I sacrifice right now, looking at the earlier stages of even when I had my child, my daughter, I had her in February 2010. So, from when I started to then, I was about 3+ years into my career, if that makes sense, right? And I knew that in the very beginning stages of her life, there was lots that she wouldn't know, wouldn't care about. So let me go ahead and pay the price now. So when she gets to that age, I can be present for her. So I think it's so important to look at, okay, what's my current stage of where I'm at? What are the people who are counting on me, depending on me, need and want my time? And what's the sacrifice look like? And then sometimes you have to bring people into that conversation to make sure that they know the importance of the sacrifice and what's in it for them. So I think it's a combination of like you looking at what is it worth? Like some things are not worth sacrificing. You get to a point in life, it's like, you know what, this right here, I'm not willing to sacrifice the time, for this, if that makes sense. So, but when you have the time to have those options, you better pick and choose wisely.
Man, thank you so much, dude. That was fire. That was so spot on. Just one thing I'll let you know, just up front, I jumped on tonight, having made a career change in my 40s. And
you don't look it though. There's some people look it. You don't look it.
Thanks, brother. Well, we did a lot of sacrificing when we were young, and been through that grind once before. And when we ended up having to do it all over again, the thing I love most about tonight, and Jalen, Mike, you guys are just absolutely amazing. Thank you guys for opening up your platform, dude. I'm about in tears tonight because you jump on, you're wanting to hear from an OG, somebody that's been there, that's done that, that's got that's seen, he's got battle scars, he's had his nose bloodied, he's reached the pinnacle, and you think that you're going to talk about selling, flipping life insurance, and we ain't talking about that all night tonight. And that's the biggest thing I've got, dude. I've got the Holy Ghost goosebumps all over me, brother. I am just so freaking fired up right now because, when the why is big enough, the how always works itself out. So, man, thank you so much. I'll shut up so one of these other leaders can jump in, brother. Thank you so much, man.
Appreciate you.
I'm going to jump on right where Hendo left off there, because I can't say thank you enough as well, because he hit the nail on the head. We even talked about insurance. And the only question I would say, or if maybe you could dig a little deeper, because at some point, if we ask everybody who's starting off, because you ever put their hands up for less than 4 years, and you got a vast majority of people here, when you start asking what their why is, they're going to start talking about making money, being able to retire, all that stuff. At some point, I know, for at least if you're like anybody else that I know, you can correct me if I'm wrong here. Your why shifted from just making money to something else.
Right.
When did you come to that point? And maybe you can help some of us that are just starting and all those type of people that are just starting off to like refocus that thing as far as how you, because that's what's going to keep you going. Obviously, if you make your goal to make 100 grand, as soon as you make 100 grand, it's like, okay, now what do I do? And
So-
there's no fulfillment there.
Got you. So Tony, so I wrote down my why on paper. And man, I promise you guys, like I remember getting ready. I was like, man, I gotta go grab this piece of paper. And then I got distracted with my dogs and I forgot to grab it. But what I will do is I promise you, Mike, Jalen, I'm gonna send you guys a picture of it and you can share it with the team. And it's a picture of what I remember falling asleep at my mother's kitchen dining table when I decided that I was marrying the opportunity in the industry. And I wrote down on paper, literally my why. So that helped me from in the beginning. Yeah, man, it was pretty cool to have these goals of making a certain amount of money. But I'm telling you this, it don't matter what kind of money you make. You ain't taking it with you. Yes, you can do more and help more, blah, blah, all that good stuff. But, you know, for me, it really wasn't about money. I knew that I was going to need to do certain things to be able to live the life that I was trying to live and retire and so on and so forth. But, you know, that was the why that kept me going. And I didn't lose sight of why I started, if that makes sense. Then once you have, because my mom was someone who was depending on me too. Like she was getting ready to lose her house when I started, and I was able to like literally give her $1,300. I remember being 23 years young, giving my mother $1,300 in cash, 3 months consecutively. I can't even explain what that felt like, but if it wasn't for the opportunity I had being in this industry, being able to control my income and give her that kind of, she would have lost, her house would have been foreclosed. My mother would have lost her house. She's got the house now. She won't live in it anymore because she live out of this state. But, you know, I was able to like help my mother. I was able to like have my wife not have to work and stay at home and raise our children, you know, a list of things. But at the end of the day, it goes from like starting with what's my vision. But then, you know, for me being young, not having kids and not having a family, like I got a family to take care of. My mom was depending on me. Like even to this day, like I mean, sometimes it's like you feel it like, man, can somebody else just step up so everybody don't have to always call me about certain things, you know? But you know, I didn't take that for granted of being the quote unquote go-to person in the family. And I was just trying to break generational curses, man. And I was blessed and fortunate. I found an opportunity that gave me the ability to control my income at the end of the day. And I didn't take it for granted. And I think a lot of people come into this industry and they blow it. They don't even understand what they got. They hit the lottery. They don't even realize that they hit the lottery.
Hey James, real quick. We got time for 2 more questions. I just want to spend everyone's time.
Knock it out.
I had a question.
Hi, I'm Turquoise. I'm from Jersey. I just wanted to say, can you see me?
I'm trying to find you. I can't see you. Hold on.
I don't know. I see you looking around.
Yeah, because there's 6 of us highlighted, but I can't really see you. But I want to see you because there's some good-looking people in this car. I promise you. I've been on some cars. I don't know what you people doing, but some good-looking people in this car. I see you now.
Okay, hi. Thank you for taking the time out to speak with us tonight. Everything, soaking it in like a sponge. I just wanted to kind of piggyback of what the other guy said. I'm sorry, I don't remember your name, but basically, like, was it only just the why as to like you said you were putting in half days? Like for me, I work full time and I'm kind of doing this part time for now. You know, my goal isn't to stay at part time, but you know. When did you decide it was worth it for you? And like, when you started out, did you have like a rough patch? Did you like, when did you first start seeing a profit or that? Like, did you have moments where you're like, okay, I don't know if I could do this. This is kind of rough. Or like, what made you like, other than the why, like what made you decide like, I'm going to stick to this full time? And when did you start seeing like a profit from it? How long? Yeah.
It's a loaded question, but I'm gonna give you a great
answer.
I'll never forget when I gave my first presentation. I promise you, it was the worst presentation somebody could have ever given. Mm-hmm. But guess what? I didn't care.
Right.
I didn't let that discourage me. I asked my field trainer who trained me, can I please do the next presentation? He was like, no. He's like, absolutely not. You ain't doing no more. You're going to watch the rest of this day. And you know what? I understood that because you can't take for granted that information that need to be delivered to these consumers you're talking to. You got that one shot, right? We're just as important as a police, fire, all that stuff, right? So, yeah, I had a rough patch. My presentation was horrible. You know, I wasn't closing everybody that I love how the person just, Kevin and Alyssa just said, fell forward. Absolutely. You got to fail forward. You got to know that, you know, when you have a good mission, when you have good intentions, things are going to happen. Like if you're genuinely trying to help people, it's not going to be hard in this industry. If you're trying to sell people, you're going to have a hard time.
Right.
You know, so I think it's important to first, I remember my mentor told me this. He said, listen, you know what's interesting? If you focus on selling, you're only going to be successful 33% of the time. That was a closing ratio. But he said, if you focus on serving, you will be successful 100% of the time. So what do you want? 33% or 100%? And when I understood that, it changed my perspective of the importance of serving and not trying to sell. And I think a lot of people struggle because they're trying to sell versus serve.
Right.
So I would focus on serving people, you know, but it took a little while to get to the point where, you know, you have that confidence when you're presenting, because when you don't have as much understanding about your product, the people, your presentation, you're going to struggle a little bit more. But as you understand the people, the product, and the presentation, hey, listen, let's knock this thing out. It's not going to be hard to show somebody the problem that they have and the solution to taking care of the problem and the cost of doing nothing and the cost of doing something. It's not going to be hard at that point. But at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, you got to focus on serving and not selling. You know, so, but when I started, it wasn't a part-time thing. It was 100%. Like, I'm all in. You know, what's interesting? I had some adversities too, because before I started, I had a DUI not long after when I graduated college. Because when I graduated college, which was in 2006, I had a whole year trying to prepare. I worked at Wells Fargo Financial a year, 4 year after I graduated. And then in that in-between phase of trying to go pro and make a team, all that good stuff, you know, I basically ended up like obtaining my license, or I passed my insurance exam, but it took 2 additional months to have my license actually get approved and issued through the state of Ohio because I had a DUI. So in that time frame, guess what? You can't even really write an insurance application because it's not a contractual thing that can even be done the right way. So I had to wait, but I had to also figure out ways to basically maneuver through that. So luckily, my field trainer, my manager, allowed for me to write applications underneath his name. It was illegal, but I'm not even gonna go there.
It allowed you. I got you.
At the end of the day, it wasn't like a legal practice. It was like he basically wrote
a loophole.
I did the presentation. He like paid me on it. But that was a way for him to say, man, I'll take whatever, man, whatever we got to do to make sure you can get through this little bump that you got going on right now. And I thank him so much, because if he wasn't willing to do that, I do not know where my life would be right now. You know, so I went through some bumps and bruises, man. I mean, I got stories for days. You know, my mom was the first person to tell me how stupid I was to start and have a career, because I'm her one and only child that went to college, got a degree, only one that went to high school, got a diploma. And so I'm her, this probably in her mind, maybe she looked at me as some token child or whatever, but I never did my problems. But she wanted good things for me. She wanted me to put my degree to use. So she was like, what do you mean? You mean to tell me you went to college to get a degree and you're going to do a career in this? You don't even need, it's like, you must be out your mind. And I remember giving a practice presentation to my mother. She was the first one. After I memorized my script, it was 8 pages. It took 40 hours to memorize that thing. I got done with the presentation. I thought I killed it. My mom looked at me and she said, Jimmy, if you think you're going to go into people's homes and they're going to understand what you're talking about, you must be out your rabbit ass mind. I'll never forget when she said that. But I'm happy she said that. I write about that in my book too. She's going to laugh when she said, I'm happy she told me that, because that told me I need to make sure I give a flawless presentation.
Mhm.
But really, what I needed to do is make sure I'm focusing on serving people to the best of my ability and not selling. Because if I focus on selling, you're only going to be successful 33% of the time. You focus on serving, though, you will be successful 100% of the time.
Mhm. Got it. Thank you.
That's good.
Yes,
Go ahead, Michael
I
Bond.
want to just say thank you. Man, so many gems you put out tonight. I've got 3 pages of notes here. So again, a lot of the new people on here, if you don't have over 3 pages of notes, you weren't listening. Okay. The one thing I really want to just really point out there, one thing that you said on your 10 keys is pay the price.
Right.
That's what a lot of people don't realize in this business is paying that price.
Right.
Might go to an event, might be seeing stuff that say Mike, Jalen, myself, Tony, Hindu, just seeing the lifestyle that we have. Guys, it does not come overnight.
Right.
Like James was saying, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. Okay. You're learning. So thank you. Like I said, just amazing. I know this is stuff that you probably charge money to give this advice to, and we got it for free. Thank you. Please let us know when your book does come out, where we can find it. Because definitely want to read that.
Appreciate that. Appreciate it.
James,
It's been a pleasure.
James, thank you so much, man. If you got time, I want to just throw some rapid fire questions on you really quick. If you have time, if not, I understand.
No.
Okay, just some rapid fire questions that some of the other leaders had really quick. I want to respect your time and other people's time. And these are some good questions to kind of hit on. The first question comes from, where is it at? Give me a second. I'm trying to find them. All right, I gotta find them, man. There's so many comments in here praising you, man. Let me see. Let me try to find it. All right, so the first question is, Kevin and Alyssa had questions about building an agency. You know, what are some successful tips that you will give to someone who is starting out building? And what are some recommendations that you can have to that you can give to like a new builder? I think I'm probably asking for like a leadership standpoint. I'm not too sure. I can probably bring them on to get more clarification on it. But they just want to ask some questions about like the building process. Like, what was your building process and what did that look like? What tips can you give?
First, you need to have a vision, right? Because without a vision, people are going to perish. You can't bring people into something without a vision of like people need to know their contribution towards what kind of impact and what you all are trying to collectively do together. So you need to have a vision. You need to have some goals, you know, in the process of, you know, getting to and accomplishing that vision. It must be bigger than you. It can't be about a certain amount of money. It must be bigger than you. You know, and when you focus on how many people you can serve and help, listen, golden rule of life, you help enough people get what they want, you get what you want. You know, and I think when you start the relationship off of literally taking time to get to know people and get to know what they truly want. Here's a kicker. What they're truly willing to do too, because a lot of times people say they want something, but they're not really willing to do it. And I think people need to be honest with themselves and help them in the process of identifying based on their actions, if it reflects, because your action must reflect what you say you want. So when you identify those things, then we can really continue on that path of if you are serious about what you said you're trying to do. But in the meantime, being patient with yourself in the process of not, you know, expecting more than what you really should expect of wherever you're at I think people just struggle with patience and being patient in the process of what it really truly takes to build something special. It's hard to go from, you by yourself with another person, and bringing someone in and taking them on the ride with you. It's actually a lot harder to go from 1 and 2 than from 50 to 100.
That's good. Good
It really
feedback right there. Good feedback right there.
And in the process, I would recommend, first off, master the basic stuff you need to master so you can teach it. I've seen so many people try and take shortcuts because they see, listen, my chapter, whatever, is not the same chapter you got. So just because you see somebody somewhere and they've accomplished and done, doesn't mean that you can't do it. But also, do not lose sight of what they took to get there. Your chapter is your chapter. Your journey is your journey. And you still got to pay the price too. Don't take shortcuts. People who try and take shortcuts, they're going to come up short. You take shortcuts, you're going to come up short. It is what it is. So I wouldn't shortcut the process of really being a student of the game and mastering the basic stuff so you can teach people what they need to teach, what they need to be taught when they first come into this business, in this industry. People need to know the basics. It's like raising a baby. Like when you have a baby you care for, like, don't take that for granted. That one person right there, you got livelihoods and generations in your hands, in your possession. Treat them like a baby. Take care of them. But here's the cool thing. When you do that, man, you're going to get to where you want to get to a lot faster, right? And I think the biggest thing, though, is you got to really work on yourself. Because if you don't lift your lid and you stay somewhere just because whatever you're doing in your business is improving, but you didn't lift your lid in the process, you're going to get passed up. There's going to be issues. So you need to lift your lid. You need to grow. That's why I talked about the importance of having a personal growth plan. You got to pour into yourself every single day. You can't I already killed this water. This is done. I'm like Cottonmouth right now. It's okay. I'm gonna get, as soon as I'm done with this, I'll get a little bit more. I'll be okay. But listen, it don't matter how, let's just say that this is you. And I got another one over here in my hand, and that's everyone else that you got to pour into. If you're empty every single day and you got all these people you got to pour into, you ain't got nothing to pour into, man, it's hard for all parties involved. You need to pour into yourself. Fill your lid all the way to the top so you can pour into people the way that they need to be poured into. So, but just genuinely caring about people, like really giving a shit about people and trying to help them get what they told you they want, and holding them accountable to doing what they need to do and keeping it real with them and being patient with them and yourself in the process over time, and good things are going to happen.
Good feedback right there. So this one
is a whole long, I can talk forever. Yeah. But that's what I'll say right now.
and this is the next one. This is from Jacqueline, right? It's from Jacqueline, superstar. At what point did you choose to not only produce on your own pen, but when did you start to add others into joining your team?
And within my second month. My first full month, I was the top agent in my organization. It was hundreds of agents in the organization. And I didn't beat people because I was smarter. I just outworked everybody. I literally was grinding, man, hustling. And I got the top producer award, which was important but I also had a goal. It was like I got contract in September. We had convention we can qualify for by December 31st. So I was trying to go to Puerto Rico. And I knew how much premium I needed to write in that small period of time that was prorated. So due to me being able to hit that number, I think it really helped my ability to be able to recruit people as well. I was starting to make more money. It was hard for me to keep inside this opportunity that was changing my life, knowing that I got so many people around me that wish they had something similar, right? So I don't know, just naturally I was just sharing the opportunity with people. And when you genuinely want to see people doing better, I don't think it's going to be hard to talk about those type of things, because people want to do better, and sometimes people just don't know the way to, or how to, and it's small fraction of people are willing to, but sometimes it's just life-changing when you can help them see that there's a different way to, and then show them how to, but I was able to really show, you know, my first person recruit who's still in this industry, like literally started 2 months after me. He's a multi-millionaire doing very well. So proud of him. But he was an engineer. He wasn't happy. I didn't really understand how bad of a financial situation he was in as I was recruiting him, but we were in the same core group of people of who you would, you know, go out and hang out all the time. And, you know, it was just hard for me to just hold in what was happening. We would go to these bars. I'm single, ready to mingle. And I'm like buying rounds for everybody. I'm making more money. I thought I was a professional football player and I really wasn't. And they're just wondering like, what's going on? Like, what do you do? I remember they would ask me questions about, man, what do you do? Are you some super seller? I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I just sell money and I sell at a discounted rate. And they thought I was doing illegal stuff after saying that. But really, that's what insurance is. You're selling money at a discounted rate, pennies on the dollar, you know? And I was like, listen, I know if I can do it, you can do it. And I don't know. It wasn't hard to be able to attract people, but I started recruiting after my second month and I didn't stop. But I knew that, here's the thing, I had to overcome 15,000 no's. And I was like, I ain't trying to do that by myself. I'm about to get some people to overcome this with me. So let's make this thing happen.
That's so good. That's so good. Last question here. Julius asked, what did your daily routine look like in the field? Or let's ask from this point. What were you training your agents on for their daily routine? Like, what did you have people doing during their day-to-day? What did their day-to-day process look like, and how did you teach people?
So a typical day for, you know, an agent starting out, first off, you need to lead from the front and show them how to do it. Show and tell. I believe in show and tell, not just telling, showing. Show first, tell later, right? So they would see exactly what they would like. You can't expect something from someone if you haven't shown them how to do it, right? So I think it's important to don't lose sight of those things, but a typical day would look like this, right? And over time, things change from structure to targets to operation, all that stuff, right? But for the most part, traditionally over 14 plus years, this is what a typical work week looked like for, you know, your typical agent starting out. On Monday, it was actually a phone session day. It was an office phone session, a development type day where, you know, again, we would encourage people to work half days, but they didn't have to, because you can still get the job done in 7 to 9 hours, you know? So we would literally guide them to have their phone session between the hours of 2 and 9, because we had a slightly different demographic that we worked, not so much seniors, but we did work seniors. But between the hours of 2 and 9, that's when they were doing, you know, phone calls, film sessions and things of that nature. But they had to have X amount of calls needed in order to get X amount of appointments booked for the next few days. So Monday was dedicated towards activities, right? Phone session activity, prep day, right? Tuesday and Wednesday was a field day. So they would go to their area. They would have appointments from 2 to 9. I'll send you a breakdown too, Jay, that you can share. This is written out, drawn out. But from 2 to 9 is when they would actually conduct presentations. Literally every hour on the hour, appointments were booked. So the goal was to not have downtime. So we set the appointment before the day so that we can be in and out of homes, presentation after presentation. You know, my top rep would give literally, like, it sounds crazy, I'm talking 50 to 60 plus presentations in a week. You know, and door knocking between the hours of 12 and 2 for a variety of reasons, to get to preset appointments, you know, and then during that same field day presentations, hour on an hour, literally doing 2 and 2. So 2 and 2s are, you make 2 phone calls, you drive to your area, everything was mapped out and like within the correct vicinity. So you're not wasting time driving around like a chicken with no head, right? So, but when you get out of your car to your first appointment, you make 2 phone calls. And then After the presentation, sell or no sell, you get back in your car before you head to your next appointment and make 2 more phone calls. But that was how to max it. Because here's the thing, people think that they're working, but they're not really working. You need to work while you're working, be productive, maximize, save time, because if you blow time and waste time, it's going to take you longer to accomplish and get to wherever you're trying to go. So, at the end of the day, it's all about maximizing time. So Tuesday, Wednesday, looked very similar to Friday. Saturday was just flipped. It was like 9 to 2, and then Sunday was an optional day. But for the people who wanted to get after it, they worked on Sundays, and Sundays was a day of appointments being booked and or presentations that they would conduct. But what I'll do is I'll just send you a sample of what that looked like. But before they would do any of that stuff and be on their own, we had to make sure they were adequately trained instead of throwing people up against the wall and hope that they stick.
Yeah.
That's so good. That's really, really good. James, man, I appreciate you so much. I know you can probably give us a lot more gems and nuggets, but we do got to conclude. Man, I just want to say thank you so much for coming in and blessing this call this evening and sharing a lot of your wisdom, some of your wisdom with us. Make sure you guys go ahead and just drop some fire signs in the chats for James really quick. Just show him how much you appreciated him. His book is coming out very, very soon. I would definitely let you guys know when that's coming out. The book title is You Can Do It. Whenever you get it published, James, just let me know, man. We'll drop it in the chat. And we'll make sure we run that up and get you on New York's bestseller list. Okay.
My whole objective with this book, man, is to be able to touch a kid who's grown up how I grew up and try and give them some hope. And I mean, it applies to anybody in any walk of life, to be honest. But if I can just bring some hope to a kid growing up how I grew up, man, it'll mean a world to me. Because I remember when I didn't have hope. I remember when I was looking and hoping and praying that somebody would guide me, grab my hand, and show me the way. So this is my way of giving back and trying to make an impact in somebody's life. But I appreciate you guys. Thank you for having me. You all have a blessed time. And listen, here, I want to challenge you all too. Listen, y'all did not 330 in November. It's time to take it up a notch. Let's get to 400. So you guys serve 320 families. I literally see 70 people on here. I want to challenge you guys to serve 400 families in the month of December. This is the best time, man. People start spending their money on dumb stuff. Man, let's show people how to really, really protect their families and show them that they really care for them with a product that'll pay dividends longer than just some freaking gift that they're going to forget about 8,000 years from now. So challenge you guys, serve 400 families this month, and let's get to 400,000. Let's get it. Have a blessed night, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
Thank you, man.
Thank you for having me.